Thought my sister-in-law was my friend, but she was part of my wife's plan to catch me cheating. When I learned the full extent of their deception, I made a life-changing decision. My 28 male wife, 27 female, hired her sister to test my loyalty. I'm at a loss. I met my wife, Sarah, when we were both 22. We were introduced by mutual friends at a local bar called the Rusty Nail. It was a Friday night, and I remember the place was packed. I almost didn't go out that night. I had a big project due at work the following Monday, but my roommate Jack convinced me I needed a break. I spotted Sarah across the room laughing with a group of friends. She had this infectious laugh that carried over the noise of the bar. Our eyes met, and she gave me a smile that made my heart skip a beat. I gathered up the courage to walk over and introduce myself. We hit it off immediately, bonding over our shared love of indie music and horror movies. Sarah told me about her job as a junior graphic designer at a local advertising firm. I shared stories about my work in software development. We talked for hours, barely noticing as the bar emptied around us. Our relationship progressed quickly after that night. Within 6 months, we were living together in a small apartment downtown. It was a third-floor walk-up with creaky floors and a temperamental radiator, but it was ours. Those early days were filled with late-night conversations, impromptu dance parties in our living room, and weekend road trips to nearby cities. Sarah was spontaneous and full of life, always pushing me out of my comfort zone in the best ways. She convinced me to try salsa dancing classes despite my 2 left feet. We'd spend Sundays exploring different neighborhoods in the city, trying out hole-in-the-wall restaurants and quirky boutiques. 2 years into our relationship, I proposed during a hike in the mountains. It was Sarah's favorite spot, a clearing that overlooked the valley below. We had discovered it on one of our first camping trips together. I packed a picnic lunch and hid the ring in the basket. When we reached the clearing, I got down on one knee and asked her to spend the rest of her life with me. She said yes, and we spent the rest of the day planning our future together. The wedding was a small affair with just close friends and family. We held it in Sarah's parents' backyard, stringing fairy lights between the trees. Sarah's sister, Emma, 25F, was her maid of honor. I'd always gotten along well with Emma. She was quieter than Sarah but had the same wit and charm. I remember the moment Sarah walked down the aisle. She wore a simple white dress and carried a bouquet of wildflowers. She looked radiant, and I couldn't believe how lucky I was. We wrote our own vows, promising to always support each other's dreams and to face life's challenges together. After the wedding, Emma became a regular fixture in our lives, often joining us for dinner or movie nights. She lived just a few blocks away from us and would often pop over unannounced, bringing leftover baked goods from the bakery where she worked. The first year of marriage was blissful. We settled into a comfortable routine, balancing our careers with our time together. Sarah had been promoted to lead designer at her firm, while I had just started a new job at a tech startup. We were both ambitious and supported each other's goals. We'd often spend evenings bouncing ideas off each other or helping each other prepare for big presentations. We talked about starting a family, agreeing to wait a few years until we were more established in our careers. In the meantime, we adopted a rescue dog named Max, a scruffy terrier mix who quickly became the center of our world. Things started to change about 18 months into our marriage. Sarah began working late more often, citing a big project at work. At first, I didn't think much of it. We were both career-driven, and I understood the demands of her job. But as the weeks went by, I noticed other changes. Sarah became more distant. Our conversations, once filled with laughter and inside jokes, became stilted and forced. She stopped initiating physical affection, and when I tried to kiss her or hold her hand, she'd often pull away. Even Max seemed to sense the tension, often looking between us with confused eyes. I tried talking to her about it, but she'd brush off my concerns, saying she was just stressed about work. I offered to help with housework or take Max for extra walks to give her more time to relax, but nothing seemed to help. I started to worry that maybe I'd done something wrong. I racked my brain, trying to think of any way I might have upset her. Had I been neglecting her needs? Was I not supportive enough of her career? I tried to be more attentive, surprising her with her favorite takeout or planning date nights, but nothing seemed to bridge the growing gap between us. As Sarah pulled away, I found myself spending more time with Emma. She'd often come over when Sarah was working late, and we'd watch movies or play board games. Emma was a good listener, and I found myself confiding in her about my concerns regarding Sarah. She always seemed sympathetic, offering words of encouragement and assuring me that Sarah probably just needed some time. I remember one night in particular, Sarah had called to say she'd be working late again. Emma came over with a pizza, and we settled in to watch a movie. Halfway through, I broke down, admitting how lost and confused I felt about my marriage. Emma put her arm around me, comforting me as I cried. Looking back, I wonder if this was part of their plan all along. Last week, everything came to a head. I came home early from work, hoping to surprise Sarah with dinner. I had stopped by her favorite Italian restaurant and picked up her usual order, eggplant parmesan with extra garlic bread. When I walked in, I found her and Emma in deep conversation on the couch. They didn't notice me at first, and I overheard Emma say, "You need to tell him, Sarah. This has gone on long enough." When they saw me, Sarah burst into tears. Emma quickly excused herself, leaving us alone. Sarah then confessed everything. For the past 3 months, she had been paying Emma to flirt with me and test my loyalty. Sarah had convinced herself that I was cheating despite having no evidence. She said she'd noticed me looking at other women and thought I seemed distant. Instead of talking to me about her concerns, she hatched this plan with Emma. Emma had been instructed to text me flirtatious messages, invite me out for drinks, and even accidentally send revealing photos. Sarah had hoped to catch me in the act of betraying her, but Emma had been reporting back that I never reciprocated her advances and always steered conversations back to Sarah. I was stunned. I couldn't believe that my wife, the person I trusted most in the world, had set up such an elaborate scheme to test me. And I was hurt that Emma, who I considered a friend, had gone along with it. All those movie nights, all those conversations where I'd opened up about my marriage, had they all been part of this twisted plan? Sarah begged for forgiveness, saying she realized now how wrong she had been. She promised to work on her trust issues and make things right, but I don't know if I can move past this betrayal. I've been staying at Jack's place for the past few days, trying to clear my head. Sarah keeps calling and texting, pleading for another chance. She's left tearful voicemails, sent long emails explaining herself, and even showed up at my office with flowers.